Hello? I think everybody's muted. Not everybody, but okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and start, guys. Can you let me know if somebody does not hear the audio? Can somebody let me know? Otherwise, I'm assuming that everybody can hear the audio okay. All right. Are you hearing me? I don't hear anybody. So, but I'm assuming that everybody's on because I'm seeing that everybody's here. So, and no hands are raised. What about? Yeah. Okay. You guys are fine. I'll unmute. I'll go ahead and unmute Melissa. Melissa, do you want to speak up, please, now, so you can kind of set the stage on why you called this?
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's Melissa, and we have Prevention Pays EMS here talking to us today about their texting as a disaster response. This was initiated because Amy here in my call center was wanting to know kind of what protocol we should be using and what the steps are with texting during a disaster. So I'd asked her to reach out to our directors network and the other 211 call centers who are texting to see kind of if they had a protocol in place, and she reached out with Sandy. And at that point, Sandy was kind of looking at the same questions as what Amy was looking for. And so Sandy posted to the networker, and then that's when Larry and Tom reached out to us and thought it would be a great idea to go ahead and work with us and show us what they have. And then from there, if there's other things that we would like to implement or would need from them, they would love to be able to help us.
Larry, are you on board? Do you want to?
Yes.
You want to say something?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good.
No, I'm good. I just wanted to say that we went through the same exercise last week with all the Florida partners, and we're getting everything put in place right now, so we are ready for whatever happens in the future.
Is that still live with Melissa? Yeah. Oh, good. Good. Melissa, you want to introduce everybody or have them do that, and then we'll get rolling?
Sounds great. My name is Melissa McCoy. I am the director of the United Way of Central Iowa's 211 call center.
And then who else do we have, Melissa?
I can't see who's here, but I have invited Lindsay Polson, and she is with the United Way of the Midlands, Tammy Jacobs with ISU Extension, Sandy Gilbert with the United Way and HACAP out of Cedar Rapids. And Tom, are you showing anybody else on there?
Gilbert, that's it.
Is Amy on there?
Yep, Amy's here.
All right, and Amy is out of my office, and she is the one that does the texting for us.
Okay. Okay, guys. So this is Amy unmuted now. Amy, did you want to say something? Amy? Well, we don't hear Amy, but she's here. She's present. Okay. Did Amy want to say something, Melissa?
Amy is in the actual call center, so she's not in here. She just wanted us to know that she was on the call.
Okay. 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 Well, let's go through it then. And at the end, if you have questions, we'll go from there. Okay, so this is Jonathan and from Educational Message Services, and this is the idea behind the texting during disasters is kind of a continuing thing, right? It's moving along, and there's more things that have been added to it, and changes that have been that have evolved with the recent disasters over the last year, which were absolutely horrendous and devastating, to this country. We're still kind of picking up the pieces, going all the way back to IRMA, HARVEY. I mean, there's still tremendous fallout from all of that. So what did we learn, right? And I mean, it's almost like you got to have 20 webinars or 50 webinars to cover and unpack and go through all of what happened during those times, and then also develop protocols out of that work. So what we've done is we've made some recommendations. We made some recommendations based on how some of the agencies during this time used the application. So we're building on, and if you were present during, say, the webinar on the 30th, you know that the platform, Prevention Pays Text, has been used as a singular response queue in an environment where in the impact zone or in the impact zones, right? So that any agency that is there would use the platform. Also, the platform has been used for backup, right? To take overflow or to take tangential communication. Such was the case with the IRMA, where there was a contract that was, done through FEMA to help with some of the communication there. And then other agencies were able to participate in that communication, support that communication. And the platform works in a way that you can put multiple people onto the platform, even though you're at a different agency, and you can participate in a joint way to help support. So we want to emphasize that the recommendations here are local, right? These are local recommendations. But then there's always that possibility that you can extend out beyond your local area and get some support from other 211s. And then there's, memorandums of understanding and workflows that happen in a joint way. So to start things off, click over. We think that a clear and important role that EOCs and partnering with EOCs should be. And what we recommend is clear and precise communication pre and during and then post-disaster, so that your 211 and your EOC have a clean and clear and distinct line of communication. If there's anything from the past disasters, there's been a bit of a disconnect at times. And so we were thinking, if there could actually be a way for EOCs to maybe get alerts from 211 or 211 to get alerts from EOC members, right? So that as they're developing, that they can use text just as you're text to help people in your community. So using text as a channel, knowing that it's going to work well in these environments. And so getting that information in a quick way is going to be crucial. And so partnering with EOCs, developing a way that EOCs can also receive text, send text. So being part of that disaster queue that we recommend developing. So ready-made queues. So rather than assembling a queue on the fly or 5 minutes before the disaster strikes, right? We're saying have a queue ready to go in your community, in your service area. And then have in that queue specific items like hand phrases that would be used or are going to be used in a repetitive way. Also have data markers that are relevant or could be relevant, so that the queue is assembled in a way that is going to be more of a plug and play, right? More of a, okay, we're ready to go. And that queue should be developed
with a team at your agency, and there should be people who log into it and create that content in advance. And we're not going to get it all perfectly right? It's not going to be buttoned up and perfect for the potential disaster that comes your way. But what we have is we have something that is a step further down the path than what we've been experiencing. And one of the things that this would do is be a queue that could receive information from partner agencies just as it receives opt-ins from the community. So you've got content curating happening in the same place where the requests for help are happening. And you can have dialogue. I mean, imagine just for a moment the power of conversational texting, and then being able to converse with individuals who are in the impact zone, but also being able to converse with EOC members who maybe also can't get to a phone or can't call, or the best way to get this link to you is going to be to text it. So the queue itself would be part of training as well, and being more proficient with the platform. And those who manage conversations would have a certain level of proficiency. But then beyond that, can you convert a caller to a texter? Can you put a list of mobile numbers into the software? Can you create a group message that goes out to a large listserv? Can you manage the groups tab, where you're building small groups of people, or you're sending text to all cases you own, so that you can quickly see that there's a burst in communication in your queue, and you self-assign all those cases, and then go to the groups tab and send a text to all the cases you own. So there's a lot of more specialized workflow, and then more specialized learning objectives that individuals can, at your agency, can begin to work towards, so that everybody's establishing a level of proficiency with the platform. And then have emergency drills, experiment with having everybody at your agency text into that disaster queue. Look and see how the queue responds. Look and see, have people ask for assistance, group them, send them a text all at one time, so that you're alleviating, and watch how that works. I mean, you can take a group of people that all opt in a moment in time, 100, 500, 1,000 or more, and you can see how quickly you can send a message to all of them and solve that problem in the moment of all of these people asking for information all at once. Ensure logins are working, and that you're able to navigate between queues and get to your designated disaster queue. You don't want it to just kind of be there and people not accessing it. So that's why I think using it as a practice area, using it as a rehearsal location is a good idea to keep it fresh. And then, there's planning groups, and, we think that there's a role here for agencies to play, not just at your local level, but also for your state. Start and then expand out and use what you develop in your local and then your state, and pass that along to others on the national. Because after all, one thing we've shown is that the platform and texting can scale up quickly, and it can scale up in a way that includes other agencies. And so rather than always creating something that maybe is just working, and we've seen posts on the network, or, hey, do you guys have protocols, or do you have, those types of things can be shared. And we feel that the texting platform and the learnings from the uses of the texting platform it can also be shared among other 211s and be an integral part of that next disaster, right? And then recommendations. So we really want you to expand your idea of the role of texting and NTP at your agency. Start leveraging your INR, and text INR in community impact work, community programs. What type of community programs have you looked into? We've got on the FTP, if you go to the FTP for 211 on the Google Drive, there's a tremendous amount of information now on community-based programs, community impact work. These projects are, in a way, lead right into the kind of use that is in times of disaster. So creating content that goes out to groups of people, managing the groups tab, managing the listservs, all of those things will help the staff member become more ready for using the service in a disaster situation. And then, your INR is really, in a way, it's an on-ramp to disaster preparedness. And we have a lot of 211s who are now thinking of it that way. That just as people opt in for live support, they're also opting in to get alerts if such an occurrence were, if there was to be a call for that. And the nice bit about that is you've got zip code and county now by everybody who's opted in. They're all able to be texted by where they're texting from, and even right down to the county. So you can be very accurate in that communication. And then I've got a little demo for everybody to see, texting the word Alex211 to 898211. And I'm just going to jump over to the queue and show you guys a couple things so that you can see what I'm talking about in terms of the groups tab and how you can quickly send messages out. So I'm going to pop over to the queue and we'll log in here. And then if you could just, a few people, not everyone, but if you could text Alex211, and then what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and send that as well. So I'm just pulling up my phone. I'm going to text to 898211, and I'm going to send the word Alex211. And then we'll see, we'll get some opt-ins, and then we'll do a little grouping so that you can see how quickly you can organize content and send content to individuals and groups. So as those pop in, I'm getting a few messages in bounce back when I opt in, and then now that we have those individuals opted in, we could pop over to the groups tab and create a group, right? And you've always got also new to the service is cases I manage and cases I own, which is really a neat feature and neat capacity. So you can either case manage or you can open cases up, and then those cases become cases that you can text. So if you see people in your queue that are asking the same question over and over again, imagine just being able to just quickly assign them and then go over to the groups tab and send a message to that group of people, show you how that works. So when I open here and I open here and open here and then open here, and now I can pop over to the groups tab and I can go cases I own, because I opened up 5 cases, and then I type my message that you might find what you're looking for at this website, and then send my website, right? And then that message, pick a date and time in the future or send immediately. It goes out immediately to that group. So the groups tab is a tremendous resource. It's a bit of functionality that is really starting to take hold, and a lot of 2-in-1s are really starting to benefit from this tab and seeing its value.
you can show and build groups. You can create groups from a list of Excel spreadsheets. So if somebody were to be acquiring mobile phone numbers and wanted to make sure that those mobile phone numbers got a text in the event of a disaster, you can just assemble that group on the fly just by having an Excel spreadsheet, upload that group. You instantly can send them text. Proficiency on the referrals tab, right? Sending text to single or multiple phone numbers, and being able to quickly do that, right? Either by adding a list of phone numbers, comma separated, or a long list of mobile numbers, or browse, upload an Excel spreadsheet with column header phone, and sending out that message. They become part of the group that you assign them to, right? So that you can be assembling your group as you notify people of the information that you need to notify them about. And so going over here to my groups tab again, I can go either by virtue of what you texted, so Alex211, and then send my message, right? Hi, here's the most current information about. Yep. And then you send your link, and you can send that. And then you can also, under the Groups tab, build groups based on knowledge that you have, like, for instance, a data marker, right? So when somebody opts in, you can data mark them and then build groups that way. So if I go over here to the Users tab and I take a look at this number here, and then I can go, okay, County Escambia. So then I can go to the Groups tab and I can say, show, and then new, and then data marker, Escambia. And then everybody who is data marked in that way, in that county, I can build a list. So it's really important, we think, that this service and this platform that you're using, hopefully on a daily basis, becomes also the tool that you use during disasters. And we want to make sure that your team, your staff, are skilled at not just having conversations and our conversations, but also being able to manage the Groups tab, send out group text, and manage the service in that way, because that's really, in the event of the disaster, that's really proven to be one of the most efficient uses of the platform, is to be able to quickly send content and scale up like that. Do you guys have questions about this? Melissa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have questions about this?
I sure don't, but I'm sure somebody else might have some. Are they still muted, or?
I'll unmute everybody. Okay. Everybody's unmuted.
Hey, Sandy, are you on?
Yes, I am.
All right. How do you feel this presentation went for you today? Do we have any additional questions? Or even Amy, are you on there too?
Well, we're just trying to comprehend it all. You know, we've never used that Groups tab, so I've got Keisha here too, who's kind of helping us with texting here. So we were kind of trying to figure it out here. Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Keisha has a question.
That's a
Okay.
point, I mean, we really, I'll jump back to you and just say, we really wanted to kind of expand your understanding of the platform a little bit with this. That was
We go to our group.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So if we go to the group setting and the prevention page now, it's going to have a list of everyone who we've sent texts to and who sent us texts, who text to us.
That's right. The groups tab is a display of all of your clients or anybody who's ever texted you, and then it becomes, it's a sortable list at that point. And then we've got, when we pop over to that groups tab, we've got all of these different ways to sort that list, and so then it becomes a really powerful tool, right? Because when you can sort by the keyword that they text, or you can sort by the data marker that you've put on them, or a note that you've added to them, or just you've got a list of mobile numbers that you need to build a group around, and you can find them and add them or remove them and send messages to that group. So imagine again, being in the moment of a disaster and you're getting the word out there. You've got a keyword that you've launched. News has picked up on it, and they're using it, and the public is using it. And you've got 500 or 1,000 or even more people opting in, trying to get information from you all at one time. The groups tab is going to become your best friend in that moment, because it's going to allow you to send to people all at one time the information, but not just that. Go beyond that. Now there's people within that big group that need other things, that are clearly texting about the same thing, but now it's that are texting and asking you about something. And so you build a group of that 50 to then send messages to. So we feel like the groups tab is probably going to be one of the most used components during disaster, just because of its flexibility.
Okay.
And what we recommend, guys, and that is an excellent question, by the way. And just saying that you had you were trying to figure it out, wrap your mind around it. This is what we really want you to do. Is we want you to, after this, I want you to feel like we've got a mission ahead, right? We're going to build a queue, but we're not going to stop there, right? We're going to build a queue that's ready, that's got some content that others have recommended for the canned phrases and the conversational text, but we're also going to build proficiency, and we're going to build into that queue some resources to help you with that. And then we're also going to work with each one of you guys to become more proficient with this group tab. You become more proficient with some of the other tools that are underused. I mean, we're always in development, and so we're always adding new features and functionality. And as a result, sometimes that tools that are being used now, if we don't keep up on training and we don't keep up on that education, then all of a sudden we're going to lose some of those along the way, right? And so we want to make sure that we're working with you to get everybody a queue that's ready-made, that's ready to go, but then go beyond that and give you guys clear steps, protocols to follow, so that you've got a level of proficiency with the tools in the service. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
To that end, it would be nice to just hit from here now, a marching order from our side is to go back and build the queue and then advise you guys that it's ready for some role playing. There's automation that's going to be involved in that, when people opt in after they see that you have made it available to the public, there's some automation that can be shown to you once we build this, and you have the ability to configure that automation so that before even somebody comes into the queue, they're already marked in a group way, and they are ready to be dealt with some messaging that is in the moment, the kind that you saw here, but also messaging that's pre-configured, so that you can sort of watch your queue perform and jump into it and help with new information that comes up, and rely on a lot of what you, like Jonathan's been talking about, gotten pre-built. And a simulation of that would be really easy to put together, and I think something that we probably should do so that we can actually start the role play. And while this meeting was hopefully to show some of the functionality that texting has available, back to the earliest component parts of it, when you notify, one of the things that we learned in Ventura was that when there's a robust notification process and the word goes out for people to text in, it's very likely that you might have 1,000, maybe 5,000 people all getting, to the queue at roughly the same time. So a combination of how automation helps handle that and how that information can flow out during those burst or peak moments, and then as the situation sort of evolves, how you can step in and manage it on a group by group basis or in a live way. We'll give you the two different sides of all of this. And I'm wondering, can we pick maybe one or two people to start model building and get a simulation worked up? How do you guys feel about that as a group?
I think that would be really helpful, because I think you learn a lot more by doing it and testing it out, and it seems silly to all of us keep working on it individually.
Right, because what'll happen is in this, and we didn't show this to you today, but you're all going to reside in this concept of a queue. It's going to be a statewide queue that, independent of everything else that you're doing, you're going to have ways to act there that are in step with what you're doing using this service daily, like Jonathan said, but also very unique to like Jonathan said, very unique to the disaster and alert side of things. And depending upon how much notification you're giving and how robust your available service becomes in the residents' eyes, in your community's eyes, you're going to want to learn both sides of it. You're going to want to learn, okay, I'm pre-configured as an alert keyword goes out, and the population that's affected, all 150,000 or 500,000, are getting the word that you can text in here to get this information. That population of a track of information that goes out to all of them is something that uses the automation in a way that a simulation will show, where a picture is worth 1,000 words, and you'll see it and you'll get it and you go, oh, okay, here's what happens, here's how I pre-program, here's how I keep these tracks of information fresh. All the while I can step in and have all this additional control that you just saw in today's presentation, where you're thinking of yourself as in a live two-way kind of more role. So learning through the simulation will be a great thing. Who could we work with directly to start to build the component parts?
One of the things that I think can come out of this is a model that might work for others that are on the call, right? So maybe what we do is we assign a couple of people to work on this model for you guys as a group that are all part of this, and then we represent once we have that, and we look at the components of it, what came of it, kind of an exercise in refining this model, refining the test queue, right? may not get it perfect, or just like, I mean, I mentioned before, the goal of it though is to have something that's a little bit closer to what we've been going on, which is 5 minutes before disaster strikes, we're quickly trying to pull together a queue that's going to help support the communication. So,
and this is Melissa, and yes, that's ultimately the goal, and I think these guys would absolutely love us. I do have a question from Amy. She says she's still muted, but she'd like to know if the groups can be made if individuals are looking for food only in a disaster. So is that where your group, if it says text 2 for food, and then it would shoot into the group that is specifically for food?
Precisely. So you can have people grouped based on responses to a question that's automated, right? So that your group is either created as part of the automated opt-in process, or the group is created based on what you know after the fact, and you can assign those either, like I said, as part of the opt-in, or you can assign it and quickly group people after the fact by using those data markers. And the data markers in concert with the Groups tab enables you to assemble people in a rapid way according to preferences, according to the issue, because that's really at the heart of this. That's what really distinguishes the platform in a lot of ways too. Everybody who you heard about blast texting and all of that, and a lot of services will support that. But it's hard to find services that go beyond that, right? When does that big group become no longer relevant? And texting to that big group isn't going to serve me in this moment. So how can I assemble and create groups under the big group to then text? And that's something that we want to help you guys learn how to do. We want to help you guys feel more comfortable doing that. Because
that sounds really great.
Okay.
And I'm gonna volunteer Amy. She volunteered herself. Lindsay, I mean, if that's something you'd like for Tina to do, and then Sandy, you've got a new person that's helping you out. It's up to you guys. That way, all three of them are on there and can do it.
Yeah, I think Keisha here in Cedar Rapids would be interested, and I can be her sidekick, but I know our United Way would be interested in that. I do have a question for Jonathan, if I can ask it, is like when we had our flood in 2008, it came right along our Cedar River, so we had maybe like 6-7 counties affected. So how would that work when you've got all these counties getting flooded and you're trying to send them text and, things like that?
Right. So when you've got your INR queue is already configured, I believe. If not, we need to configure it to be acquiring the county when they text their zip code. We can also acquire county by virtue of the keyword that they text. We can ask them for their county in an automated way, text your zip code, and then we'll automate the county question. So we've got so many ways now to acquire the county as part of the opt-in, so it's not you going backwards. It's not you going and filling in things after the fact and trying to make groups after the fact. We want to make sure that that's part and parcel to the call to action, so that information is on board. And then what you've got is, once that information is on board and they've indicated that in an automated way, not backfilling, then you're able to send text by county. And that makes all the difference in the world, as you can imagine. During that 2008, to be able to send text by county is a pretty powerful thing.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And that might be a good, go back to the past and use that as a model for some of the model that we build in the simulations. I see right away what John just mentioned there, which is how quickly some of the automation that we gather on the intake regroups for you, so that you have instant ability to handle those 6 counties and all the people that have opted in. So this brings up a great point. In a disaster and preparedness modality, we're going to need to come back together again and work on the model and go back and forth a little bit with the email, get it to the place where we're ready to reconvene the group again. And, you know, probably over the next 30 days, I would imagine, we'd probably be able to go from this point to where we had a simulation ready to show you. And at that point, start to define roles and start to look at, you know, correlated types of things that Jonathan mentioned early on, like marketing and notice giving and how that happens, how that can be made to flow into the tech platform if it's put up on websites, and generate some more stuff like that to help show you. But clearly be working with you over the next couple of 3 months to define roles, to run you through simulations, working to a point where we might have a mock kind of a emergency response where we put you guys into that role and we send through some, you know, signals, and we actually go through one, so that, like Jonathan kept saying, we're being so proactive now. And I thank you so much for being willing to do this, because it will, like Jonathan said, help set standards and protocols around how we react. Because he's right, we've been kind of reacting up until now, and this lets us proact in a really good way.
One more footnote on that, as a real-time example is, you know, the EOs here in Ventura County, when those fires were breaking out, the EOC was saying, okay, well, just give them this website. And then a whole bunch of people were saying, well, I don't have the internet. And so how can I go to a website, right? So how do we quickly take that information and make it into text messages that can be deployed in a large scale to as many people as possible? And that's what we want to help you guys become proficient at. And I don't want you to feel like you're putting time into something that's only going to be in these moments of the day. Please feel like what you're going to learn with regard to the group step, what you're going to learn with regard to some of these strategies is going to be translatable to the work that you're also doing with INR.
And community impact.
And all the other projects.
Right, yeah.
So it'll come full circle for you guys.
So it's going to be a good, rich session. Maybe what we can do is we can get into a group where we send out an email to the participants for the model building first, and want to give us those emails now of who those people are, so we can build a little email group.
Well, this is Melissa. We can sure do that, and you should have all their emails from the actual sign up. Do you have it from today's webinar, or yeah. I can put them together for you? It's up to you.
Well, you mentioned some names that I don't know were here today.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Fortina's not on there today. She's sick, but if she's not on there, we can sure get it to you. Because you're going to send out a copy of this, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that'd be a
great place. Not on there.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Keisha McDore isn't on your list either yet, so.
That's right. That's right. I was thinking of her as well. Perfect. At this point, let's do that, and then we'll come back to you by email, and we'll get a next session drawn up, and we're excited to do this with you.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to help us out and help us become guinea pigs and figure this out so that we're ahead of the game.
Yeah, and you know what? I imagine whatever we work on and develop together is going to be subject for others, right? It's going to be also translatable and usable by other groups. And so I really like the idea that what we do together becomes something that is a bit of a leading edge and really cutting edge and moving the thought group along, but also helping people so that they're not having to do something from scratch, right? So that at the end of the day, this maybe becomes a presentation of the state to the presentation of on a national level, or even among all 211, so that we can pass this information along once we really develop something that can be easily replicated and patched into any region.
And just a footnote on that, you guys are going to be able, if you're going to the AIRS conference, there's a session on texting during disasters or getting ready for disasters that's being put on by the 211 Ventura Interface Children's Family Service, where Kelly Brown is going to be presenting on some of the stuff that happened during the Thomas Fire. So in that spirit, Jonathan, I think is what you're talking about. We'll try to make all of this stuff available for people as we build it, so that it's just adding to what's known about this.
Sound good?
I think it sounds great.
Good. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. We'll pass along the recording of this session. We'll also pass along slides, and then I'm going to be reconvening with those who raised their hand and said they were be part of that development, and then we'll schedule a next session at that time. Okay.
Wonderful, and thank you everybody for your time today. And if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Tom or Jonathan or myself or anybody on the call today.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.